Welcome, everybody. How you doing there? Welcome, Gary, Denise, Rebecca. How's everybody doing, Val? Hello there, Philip. Nice to have you. Another edition, Gene Hudson. We have Tracy's not going to make it today. His basement is flooded. So we have a special guest today. So, yes, Kyle Smith, welcome. And our special guest is Ash. Come on down, Ash. How are you doing?
Hi.
So introduce yourself and tell everybody all about you and what you do.
Well, basically I'm a paranormal investigator. Just so you guys know, you guys are popping my cherry for the YouTube live. But that's totally okay.
Awesome.
So basically when I was a kid, I was an empath and I've always been able to sense energy. I just didn't know what it was. And as I got older, I realized that I couldn't just ignore it anymore. So I found a paranormal group. I went to like Scarefest, and in my brain, I would watch the shows on TV and that's all I knew. And then meeting a team that was actually from Kentucky was very exciting. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can actually go with you guys because they invited me, right? So I go on investigation. I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. And matter of fact, some of my team members are on here right now.
Oh, awesome. Welcome.
So I started investigating with them and using my gifts. So I don't charge people. I don't read people live. Now, everywhere I go, I'm not going to lie, I'm always reading somebody. It just happens that way.
Right.
A little backstory to that is I was born with a veil, if anybody knows what that means, over my head. And spiritually, it's where I can walk like a fine line. So I can turn my gifts on and I can turn them off.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I lived on an Indian reservation till I was 10, and there was a shaman there. He was so that was out in Arizona, and he told me, he was like, you're very, very gifted. And I didn't know what that meant at the time, but I could read auras. Like I could see auras on people's bodies. And I remember I told this guy, I think maybe I was like 6 or 7, and I told him, I was like, hey, you're about to have a heart attack. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah,
Whoa.
you're going to have a heart attack. And so he ended up, going to the shaman, and sure enough, like he was actually in the midst of having like a massive heart attack. And luckily, because he made it in time, he survived.
Wow.
So that was like my first encounter of actually getting like feedback from somebody, but didn't even realize it. And then when I moved back to Kentucky, I would tell my stepmom that she was going to start her period in like 5 seconds, and it freaked her out. And so she actually like shut me down. And so I shut myself down for a long time. And I played with the Ouija board when I was I'm telling you, that was the worst experience. Yeah. Thanks to you, I have holy water now.
That is right. I always have my holy water on standby.
Yep. Well, I have some now too.
That's right.
But I played with it for 3 days by myself. I had no idea what I was doing. I ended up getting an attachment. It wrecked my entire apartment on UK campus. Furniture was flipped upside down. I mean,
what?
Wild. Okay, so I was playing. So I was dabbling in like some drugs and stuff, like recreational drugs, and I was a dancer. And so I was living like a double life basically. And so I was playing with it, and it told me it was a little girl. And I felt bad for this little girl, and nobody told me how to play it. You could buy it at Walmart for like $20. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, you could just buy it. So for 3 days, I was like caught up in this, and she gave me like phone numbers to call and everything. So I ended up going to work and coming back home into the apartment, and we had these high booths that are like like the island has those high top chairs.
Right.
And we had two of them. And back then, because I'm 30, I'll be 36 this year. Back then, in 2006, we had the big the big screen TVs that sit on the ground with the big backs on them. And the chairs were on top of each other in front of that TV. And I could not recreate that any way that I tried so hard to recreate it, and I couldn't. I had like Playboy posters like pinned all over my apartment, and they were unpinned and turned upside down. Like the
Wow.
couch was moved over by the balcony. And the third night I experienced it, I watched it crawl across the room and came right up on my back. And I was like, I am out of here. And so, yeah. Well, so 3 days later, I was like, I picked a spot on the map and I was like, I'm just going to go. I had like $5,000 in the safe, and I went out to California. And about 3 months out after being out there, if you've ever, I mean, I think you guys have talked about this before, but it's where you lay down and you can't move.
Yes.
Called?
Sleep paralysis.
Yeah, paralysis. And so I was taking a nap on the bed, and I remember just being held down. I couldn't scream. I couldn't blink, but I was very aware, and I seen it, and it was very scary. It was reptilian type, It was just very scary. And so, but it never came back. And I found out later that when you confront something that's had an attachment to you, they cannot re-enter your body without an invitation.
That is correct.
Yeah. So from there on, I got very interested in it. And thank you. That's my shaman friend. Hi, Marie.
Hey, Maria and Barb. Welcome. Kyle Smith, everybody. Welcome to the show. Round of applause. Yeah. Wow, that is like too crazy. What state do you live in now?
Kentucky.
Okay, I am from Kentucky too. I thought that's right. You are in Kentucky. That's right.
Yes.
Wow.
So I just started working in the paranormal field and investigating, and the more I did it, the more I opened up my channel. And so I'm a channeler. I'll tell you that. I'm a channeler, psychic medium. I'm very intuitive, empath. I can feel people's energies, emotions. I can sense people's intentions. But I can also shut myself down as well. I do like cards. I mean, I do all kinds. I do scrying. I'm a certified remote viewer through MUFON. You guys have watched him, Chris Harmon.
Mm-hmm.
He should be on here, but
yes.
So I'm actually taking his master class right now.
Oh, awesome! Yes.
Yeah, so I do all kinds of things.
Interesting. That is interesting. I know one thing: I will never come over your house and eat dinner. So. I'm good.
I think I have a gin here right now.
No. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
So you have activity at your house?
Well, when I first moved in, this room that I'm in, this is my meditation room. But prior, this was my kid's playroom, and he had a bedroom and a playroom, and wasn't in either. He would play in the living room, and so I was like, I'm taking that room. But when we first moved in, this room was like scary to us. We would always get like an eerie feeling of something being back here, and then my kid would sleep across the hall, and we had cameras and stuff, like a motion sensor to let him know like we're here. He was 2 years old, and he had never seen he's very gifted as well. He has a photographic memory on top of being very sensitive, very intuitive. Mm-hmm. And so anyways, he was sleeping. He said, "Mom, there's a black shadow," and he was watching it, and I was like, "Really?" And he said he had never seen a ghost show. He didn't know what that kind of stuff was. And he said, "Mom, it's a ghost." And I was wow. Oh, okay. So he got scared. So I came through, and I was like, "Listen, whoever you are, get out. If you want to stay, you better never scare my family again. And if you don't scare my family, you can stay. But if not, get out." And it left. But then I
Mm.
started going on these investigations, and I opened my channel up, and I work on my chakras, and and so now I bring stuff home, and I think how I got the gin, in all honesty, thanks to my friend Marie that's on here. I went to a friend's house who's an astrologist. She reads
Uh-huh.
astrology charts and stuff, and she was like, "What's in the basement?" And so I went to her house and I investigated it, and in her basement, this is so creepy. This was just like 2 weeks ago. In her basement, half of it's like concrete down, and then half of it is like dirt, and it's full of dirt. And so,
An older house?
yeah, it's an older house.
Yes.
Yes. And so I had actually told her, like, her neighbors were into like Satanism, and
Ah,
they look like the all American family. But when I pulled up and I seen them outside, I was like, "Ooh, they give me the creeps." Hi, Grim guys. I
welcome
invited
to the show,
you to
Grim
listen.
guys. Welcome.
Yeah. So I was like, they're doing some, like, anyways, I just psychically read the property and then her house, and I told her exactly where it was at, but it was hiding from me. And come to find out, I was like, there's something buried in that dirt, and she said no one had been back there. So I crawled back there. It's maybe 3 foot, maybe 3 foot. And I mean, there was like cobwebs. I found like a 60, 70-year-old Mountain Dew, original Mountain Dew can. Very, very old stuff back there. Like someone has just tossed back there.
Oh, wow.
And so something's buried. I didn't find it that day, but I come home and my shoes are sitting in my laundry room, and I never cleaned the dirt off, never thought about it. They're just sitting in my room. And so now I'm having all this activity. And then I meet with her yesterday, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why?" And she was like, "Well, after you left, the activity stopped." And I was like, "Well, after I left, the activity picked up in my home." So
Ah,
there's definitely like banging on walls, and I mean, it's very active here right now.
ah,
Yeah.
no. Now, I'm not going to any of your friends' house either. I'm not crawling underneath no houses. No.
I'll protect you.
Yeah, that's what they always say. I watch horror movies. And the white guys are the first ones to go. So, yes, I know how they all end up. So,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
And you know what's crazy is like you truly never know wherever you go what is there. I have seen some crazy stuff just walking in the grocery store.
What do you mean?
So, like Kroger, for instance,
Oh, hell no. I shop at Kroger's. Tell me now.
well, I mean, they're everywhere. There's so many different dimensions, right? I think there's like 12, 13,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And so I can actually see into multiple different dimensions. And as I was, okay, so this was maybe like 10 years ago. I'm standing in Kroger, and all of a sudden I can't even tell you what it was. I can tell you that it looked like a snake slash dragon slash, it was a reptilian that had like alligator, and it was crawling, and I'm getting like, no shit, it was like 15, 20 foot, and it was crawling, slithering through the aisles. And I just stood there frozen, like I didn't even see it, but like it was just slithering, and nobody knew. And that stuff happens all the time.
Oh, wow. Now, we actually had a woman shopping at a store, and she was a child, and a customer welcomed Jamie to the show. She said, "So proud of you, Ash." Turned
Thanks,
around
Jamie.
and looked, and the lady behind her was a reptilian,
Mm.
and she was haunted all her childhood life of that. So, yes, I do believe in that. So, that's interesting.
Well, the thing about reptilians is they have the ability to shapeshift.
That's what I was told, yes.
Yeah. So their scales can come up, and they can be either or.
So, how do you deal with this on a regular basis?
Well, I mean, a lot of grounding, a lot of being in like a meditative state. I meditate quite a bit. Um, Also being, so I used to be like deathly scared. We would go into like these haunted places, and I'd be so scared. But now that I'm getting more familiar with it and understanding it, I always feel the energy, so to speak, before judging what it looks like, because there are things. I mean, you've talked about it before. Angels, everybody thinks
Mm-hmm.
they look so beautiful, but in reality, they're really not. They're heinous creatures. They look like heinous creatures. They're scary. But but the energy is quite the opposite, you know. But
Right.
so we were at Fairfield, Fairfield Infirmary.
Yes.
Okay, so we were there a couple weeks ago with the people that's on here watching, and I was walking with one of the investigators on our team, and I looked over and I was like, "There's a crawler." First time I'd seen a crawler before, and do you know what I mean by that?
Yes. You want to explain
Okay.
to the audience?
Yeah, sure. So crawlers can be multiple different things. They can be like shadow people, but this crawler specifically was okay. So Fairfield County Infirmary, if anybody doesn't know, it used to be like an insane asylum, so to speak, in a hospital. And one part they call it the dungeon. It's actually the top of the building and not the bottom. And when you walk in, there's chains on the walls, and all these original hooks are still there in these rooms that maybe have like 2 foot by 6 foot. And they were padded locked, so you couldn't get in them. But they used to take the kids in there and they would hang them up on these walls, like all these kids on the walls, and hurt them, abuse them. And it was just a scare tactic, but it's just sad. So one of these disabled grown-ups in the afterlife, the man that was ahead of the place back in the day, the superintendent, did some bad things
Oh,
to,
wow.
like, lobotomies and things like that to him, you know. And so when I seen it, it was actually one of them, and he was walking on his feet and hands, okay, but his legs, his knees were up, like he was crawling like that,
No,
like
I'm good. Mm-mm.
yeah, it was quite scary, to be honest. And once that happened, like I was terrified for the rest of the night. But we ended up doing an Estes method, and if people don't know what that is, it's where you have we have a spirit box that sweeps AM and FM radio stations, and you just hear it go, and then you hear, like, spirits can manipulate that in order to speak through you, and then you put on headphones. And so when I do an Estes method, everybody does it differently, but I rock, and why I do that is it opens that channel for allowing me to have basically like an outer body experience. So that
Mm-hmm.
way I can make room for the paranormal. And so I was doing an Estes method in that space that I seen the crawler and that man. And for 45 minutes, this was the best investigation of my life, like hands down. We usually, when you get answers, you get like jumbled messages, like random words, and they're not answering your questions. And it's quite rare, to be honest. And so that you're going to get like a direct answer all the time. But the 45 minutes, it was constant direct messages. And so this man came in, and they were talking about the crawlers coming through the wall. The crawler was on top of me. And
No.
before we started, I know, right? Before we started the Estes method, little Amber and I were actually sitting up there by ourselves, and she pointed out, "He's above you." And I was like, "I know, I don't want to look I don't want to look." And so her and I talked back and forth before, because we don't tell everybody everything. It's just something that we do because we're more sensitive, especially around the guys, you know. So long story short, we did that Estes method, and a lady came through. Mind you, been there for a couple hundred years. And I allowed her, I moved out of my body and I allowed her to come in. And Jamie, who's on here, he works for hospice, and he never gets on camera. And he walked over and he was like, "Back up, whoever you are, back up." And we were able to let her, and I watched her go right through the light.
Oh, wow.
It was really cool. And the kids followed after the fact.
Wow.
Yeah, the kids that she was protecting, because she was protecting kids from these bad things in there. But how I deal with it, I mean, it can be difficult.
Well, let me show you how
Yeah.
I would deal with it. Okay.
Right.
I would deal with it just like this girl did when she made the news and action.
Ooh, I've seen
Remember
this.
this lady?
Yes, I do.
Oh, it's not going to play. I had it all spooled up too. Let me rewind it and try it again.
Okay.
And it's not going to play. Remember where she freaked out on a plane?
Yes. Wasn't it a shapeshifter?
I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
Of course, it's buffering. Let me try it again.
There you go. Oh, there we go.
Audio. And nothing, ladies and gentlemen. Well, anyways, she freaks out.
I'm telling you right now, that back there is not real. I'm telling you, I'm getting the off, and there's a reason why I'm getting the off, and everyone can either believe it or they cannot believe it. I don't give two but I am telling you right now, that back there is not real. And you can sit on this plane and you can die with them or not. I'm not going to.
Yeah, so
Wow.
she lost her stuff, and we still don't know what in the world she saw on that plane. Welcome just in time. So, yeah, she was there. It was evil on that plane. That's right, Gene.
Yeah, there was. I mean, I seen a clip of that on YouTube. I think that was the clip that I seen. And she said, I think it goes further on, but she specifically says it changed. It was
Is that what it was?
That person was not who it was whenever it was sitting, whoever it was. So she said it changed, and I think it was a shapeshifter. You can tell in that video, one, she's not going to make something up like that. She's not going to make a scene on a plane. Like, you could tell that was real fear.
Yes.
And she had never seen anything like that.
Yes. Welcome, Crystal. So what is, okay, all right, off the subject, hands down, everybody's talking about your spaghetti, your brownies, and now your biscuits. What in the hell is going on?
I had no idea.
I mean, everybody in the chat's like, I'm hungry. You're making me hungry.
Well,
I want to know what the hell's going on with your cooking.
Like, what in the world? I mean, yeah. So, are you feeding everybody or something?
Yeah, basically. Like, I'm the mom of the group, so
evidently something's going on. Now, I may have to go on some investigations. I live in Kentucky too.
Yep. I told you I'm coming to your backyard. We're going to investigate.
Yeah, we're going to do something because man, they're talking about video. You got to try spaghetti. Don't forget our brownies. Oh, their biscuits too. And people in the chat, Kyle Smith's like, I'm hungry now. And I'm sitting there, I'm eating fireballs, sucking on fireballs.
Not fireballs.
I love hot stuff. So, but anyways. But that's what I would do. I would lose my stuff because, I mean, you're just like, oh, yeah, I didn't do something, And it's just like, you can just turn it off. I would lose my cookies over stuff like that. So now, when you go out in the woods, do you see stuff or what happens when you go out in the woods?
I see stuff all the time. It doesn't matter where I'm at, where I'm going. The land has so much energy on it, and there's multiple different layers to that energy, and having that ability to see in those different dimensions, I will tell you, specifically in the woods, there was a time where I think I seen fairies at first. There was like fairies flying around, and it was actually my first encounter in fairies.
Fairies are real.
They are real. Absolutely. I have a fairy altar
right
here.
Yes, they are real.
Yes, I communicate with them. But so then you see the fairies, and then that, like I said, that was my first encounter. They're like sparkles, like glitter of light is what they look like. And then then on another plane, I can see like the history of, okay, for instance, we went to Octagon Hall, which is in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Yes.
It's been on like many paranormal shows and stuff, but
Right.
we were there in December, and everywhere we go, I always psychically read the place. I always write stuff down, and then I want it to get verified. Not for anybody else, just for me. So I wrote 2 whole pages on this place. I never do that, and I wrote down all the different layers of dimensions. So one dimension had Native Americans on it. Another dimension had the Civil War on it. Another one had the family that owned that land and owned that place. The family was still there. Another dimension was the African American slaves that were there, and I said they were even still there. They lived in the barn, and come to find out, when we go to investigations, we go in blind unless we've been there before. We don't want to know anything about the place. And so, and then and then I was like, okay, this is crazy, but I felt like there were cryptids there and a shapeshifter, and I kept feeling like not Bigfoot per se, but it was a shapeshifter. It made me feel like it was a skinwalker. Mind you, I'm Navajo. I'm 72% Blackfoot Sioux, and I grew up on a Navajo reservation. And like Navajo are the ones who cursed. They're the ones who started the skinwalker. I know all about them. And that's the energy that I felt from it. So, and that was just from walking onto this property, right?
Right.
So,
Chris Harmon says hello.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for showing up.
Yes, Chris is
There's a lot of
interesting.
friends in here today.
Yes, absolutely. So you said cryptids.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe in Bigfoot then?
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever gone Bigfoot hunting?
I've always wanted to go, but I have encountered one time.
You have?
Yes.
Interesting. How'd that turn out?
Okay. I think this is the story I was telling you about last week.
Right.
Okay. I've always wanted to go Bigfoot hunting. I've watched it for so many years. I just never knew anybody that went, and that would take people, just to randomly go. So anyways, we went to this place. It's called Murray Station Homestead. And I have recently found out that they no longer open it to the public. But maybe someone in the chat room can help me out here. They actually have a TV show on YouTube that films there all the time. Paranormal Trio, something like that. And so the owners bought this house, and they live in a trailer next to it, like a camper type thing.
Right.
And so we pull up, and the first thing you see is a big statue of Bigfoot. And they have like a spotlight on it. So it like in the corner of the house, and it looks like Bigfoot's walking through.
That's funny.
Yeah, it is. So this house the original part is still there, and it's like 1700s.
Oh, wow.
And all the items are still there. Yeah. And there's actually a part in that place where they had slaves on the land, and they had the quarters still there. So we were investigating, and I was standing outside by myself at this moment, and I felt something outside because I tend to go off by myself. Blue Collar Paranormal, thank you so much. So I was standing outside, and I felt a walnut come right by my ear. I mean, I felt the wind, I felt it, and I was like, no way. Someone just threw something at me. Something just threw something at me. But I knew nobody was there. Nobody. Except our team. And they were inside.
Ready for bedtime.
Oh, man. I'm so sorry.
I thought that was my Alexa talking. I'm like, oh, hell, it's starting to act up in the studio.
Mine's acting up now. So the owner was telling me stories because I'm curious about it. And so I talked to her on the side, and she would tell me stories about how she's encountered them for many years, ever since they bought the property. And she said that they didn't understand English. So she would walk on back in the property, and every day she would go out there and say her name over and over and over again until they finally came back and said her name.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so they spoke her name, and that is what started that friendship between them. And that was really cool. So, like I said last week, she leaves offerings out for them and gets offerings back, and so I felt that. So one of the grids, we had a grid in the upstairs window, and it was facing outside the window into the woods, and you could see it breaking. And my friend Amber, who's on here, she was out there with me, and we heard tree knocks, and I was like, no way. No way. I never thought I would encounter a Bigfoot. Like, okay, this is kind of crazy, but I'm gonna see what I can do. So the first stick I picked up, I hit it and it broke. So we knocked, we got some knocks back, and then that was it. You could just feel that they were out there. And the owner was saying how one night it was raining, and when it was raining, so this is a Bigfoot family, mind you, and this family knocked on her trailer, and she said then they were banging on like the house, and so she went out there, and she was like, they just wanted to get inside, they were cold, and I guess it was like really storming, like really loud, and maybe it scared their kids or something like that. That's what she thought. So she went and opened up the door and let them sleep in there. Now, I don't know. I don't think that she encountered them. I think that she opened it up and then left, and then they came in. But she said they stayed all night.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. And then a friend, like the leader of my group, it's called Illuminate the Beyond. That's my paranormal group that I'm with. He was inside while we were trying to talk to Bigfoot and the Native Americans back there. And he was sitting in there. Now, I don't know if this was Bigfoot or paranormal, but he was by himself. And we always stream live on YouTube or TikTok.
Right.
And so he was sitting there, and he heard, I mean, you could just hear this boom. It was so loud. He was like, yep, I'm out. Yeah. And then through the Estes method, we had actually heard stories about them coming through. And I explained how when I was under the Estes method, don't forget the big spot. Oh gosh. Woo! If one thing I'm scared of over anything is spiders. Okay.
Wow.
So there were spiders all over this house. Oh man. Ooh. Okay. So the Estes method was coming through, and I heard it, and I don't know if I heard it through the Estes or if I heard it, because sometimes when, okay, he didn't leave. My apologies, Philip. You're right. So I actually hear on other levels as well, and that helps me connect to the pieces to say it out loud. And I didn't really understand that what I was doing until Jamie actually told me, you're hearing other dimensions at the same time, because I can't hear anybody else. It doesn't. And then I realized, started tapping into that, and it's worked. So anyways, I heard Bigfoot come through, and it was a voice that I've never heard. And he kept saying Bigfoot. He would go, Bigfoot, Bigfoot, like it. I can't even do it, but it was like Bigfoot. It was kind of like that over and over and over again.
Wow. Interesting. So what are some of your most memorable paranormal investigations?
Ooh. Well, Fairfield, that was definitely more memorable, just because of everything that happened. Another one. Man, I'm trying to like sift through them because I do so many.
Right.
Okay, well, not too long ago, this is actually a story that I sent you through email. We were at a place in Felicity, Ohio. It's a small house, very small population. It's maybe a quarter mile big, like long. That's it. And this place, back in the day, they had like mentally challenged people. They would lock them up inside of their house. And so they actually had a little girl that was locked up in the attic. And so one of the paranormal investigators that's on our team, she tends to bring things with her everywhere she goes. No joke. Like, she has like a whole entourage of spirits and all kinds of stuff that comes with her. So anytime, thank you. So anytime that we go on an investigation, we're always going to get something with her in it, always. And so she was drained the entire night. She would not do anything. She just wanted to sleep. She would take her shirt up and put it over her eyes and just sit there. And so we were in the room, one of the rooms upstairs, and we had all the stuff going, the grids, the REM pods, and 4 people streaming live on their own lives and stuff. And we were trying to communicate with one of the spirits, and we hear like a loud whisper, "Hey, do you think they could sing blah, blah, blah?" Like, we can't hear the rest. Mind you, we heard this. It was very audible. We all heard this with our ears. So loud, I thought it was the girls behind me. They thought it was me. So it was that loud. And we had spirit boxes going. We had all kinds of stuff going. I mean, it was really loud. We actually have a clip of it on my TikTok. But so after that happened, some people had walked out of the room, and I was like, I need to take a picture because I sensed it. And so I turned around and I went 1, 2, and the first one, there was nothing in it. And then the second one is little Amber sitting there, and she's got her sweatshirt up like this. And and I've come to believe that the veil was thin at that moment. I'm not saying that this house has these things in it. I'm saying that at this moment, whatever energy that little Amber was bringing allowed that veil to be very thin for all of these things to be in this picture. Okay.
Right.
So the picture that I have is she's sitting on the floor. Like I said, her sweatshirt's up to here, and there's a light on, and a little girl is sitting in her lap. Now, mind you, before that, she had said, "Oh, I felt someone sit in my lap." And I was like, "Did you just sit in my lap?" And the REM pod starts going off. We had those
wow.
lights too that goes, like light strips.
Yes.
You know? Yeah. So the light strips is going off, the REM pod is going off, and then I was like, okay. So I asked again, and I said, "Did you just sit in my lap?" And the REM pod went off again. And oh, that makes sense. That makes sense, Philip. Do they think there's something in there? That makes sense. So I felt her sit in my lap, and then I told people, but there was just so much going on. And so it was interesting to find that this little girl was sitting in Amber's lap, who was right in front of me. And she has white hair. She has like dark eyes, creepy looking. Like, if you want to envision like a creepy little girl, that girl was creepy. She creeped me out. Like a porcelain doll face, like a creepy porcelain doll face. And she had a dog inside. Ooh, that makes sense. A poodle. Like, she was holding a poodle, and its neck, where it was a ghost, its neck was like all the way up to here, and then the little head was right here, like wrapped around her. So that was just in her lap. Next to her, and I'll tell you why I'm telling you that. Like, I'm going to tell you it's been verified through MUFON, through Chris Harmon, but also a lot of it matches what the owner has given me as a description of the house. Okay, they have seen. Multiple different times, paranormal teams have seen, like, quote unquote, a Grim Reaper. Now, I don't know if it's a Grim Reaper, but it definitely looks like one.
Wow.
And you can see it's floating on top of, so she's sitting down, it's floating on top, and it has like a gray cape, and it has a skull face, and its mouth is like creepy, like the big black eyes, and its mouth is open, and you could just see it shifting down, and then right below there's a little boy. and the little boy is holding another dog. Now on Amber's shoulder is another little dog, and in the floor is another little dog. They all look like poodles, different types of poodles. And then to the left of the little boy was an alien. And I was out of everything. That is the one thing that stood out to me was the alien, and it looks like an insectoid. It has antennas like this, and it has like it looked green, but it could be like the lights that we had. But it was it was very short, maybe like 3 foot, and its head was not like a gray, kind of, but not really. It was like this, like this. It had a small mouth and two dots of a nose, and then but the eyes were like bee eyes, where they have like a bunch of different like holes in them, like they were massive. The insectoid eyes.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. No, you're going to give me nightmares.
Yeah. And then the next weekend I went back with my wife, and I caught a little girl, full apparition. No cameras were running. We were done. Everybody was outside or gone. And I was like, hey, no cameras are running. Can you and I have a conversation? And I sat there and I talked to her, and I was like, can you move something for me? I have like nothing's running, I promise. And I didn't get anything. And so I was just I always tell the spirits, thank you for letting us come. I really appreciate it. Thank you for interacting with us. We always set intentions. And so show gratitude. So I was taking a picture. This was my last picture of the day that morning. And it was a glass book, and it was interesting because it was like a witchcraft book for Halloween, but it was really cool on the inside. And I was taking a picture, and there she was. And I was watching her in live view. Like I was taking a picture, and I seen her, and I turned around. She's not there. I look here, and I turn around. She's not there. And she's got blonde hair, and her face, the only thing that was blacked out was her face. And she had on a dress, one of those poofy dresses right here, and then it poofed out down here. And she was sitting in a chair, and her legs were over, and you could see like white stockings with black shoes on.
Wow.
Yeah, that was just a couple weeks ago.
Unbelievable.
I mean, I could go on and on and on about stories like that, you know.
So just in time, ask you, and he's from, I think, in UK, and he says, do you believe in leprechauns? Because I have a friend that says she sees them all the time. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I do. I do believe that leprechauns are absolutely real. They have a specific energy to them. They also belong, this is just my opinion, they also belong to the reptilian side of alien species. They live in a different dimension, and the dimension that they live in would be like where fairies and goblins and things like that live in.
Well, they actually do believe in leprechauns because they actually build roads around their so-called homes, and they don't demolish certain rocks over in that country. So yes, really? They do believe in them. Yes.
Wow.
So it's very interesting.
Well, let me put it this way. If you can believe in an angel, right? It's something you can't see, but you know it's real, then anything is possible. You know?
That is correct. Possible. That is correct. So, yes. I have no idea what they're talking about in the chat now. They're talking about eating kitty cats.
Oh,
no. You must have been in the wrong Chinese place, ladies and gentlemen, if you're eating cat.
Oh, yeah. So. Look, regular cats.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We go from spaghetti to your brownies to biscuits. Do you make your biscuits homemade?
Yeah, sometimes I do.
All right. I had to ask because I know somebody's going to ask. So how does everybody find you and follow you in your group?
So you can find so I belong to the Illuminate the Beyond. We are on TikTok, YouTube. We also have we just started a merch site, which is on Bonfire. It's Illuminate the Beyond Paranormal. And then I'm on TikTok as Seer of the Dead and Ash Banta on Facebook.
Awesome. Well, it's been wonderful having you. Definitely have you back, that's for sure. So make sure, everybody, check them out and check her out. And
Yes.
it's been wonderful having you, and I greatly appreciate you coming on. So, yes.
Well,
And
thank you for having me.
absolutely. And don't forget, we got another show coming up at 9 o'clock tonight. Got some intel from Fort Knox out of Kentucky about some interesting things that somebody leaked out about Bigfoot. So it's kind of disturbing, but it's actually the truth. So we'll release that tonight. So for Coast to Coast, we'll see you at 9 o'clock. Thank you.
See you there.
Bye-bye.